do not want to be your punching bag, 'cause I'm done with that. I will not let myself be a doormat, 'cause I don't want to be walked on. What will you do when I am nowhere to be found? What will you do
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. We are live, everybody, here on the I'm No Joe channel. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, we have got a fully facialed panel here ready to break down the fights and get into some shit talking and shenaniganry leading up to this weekend's UFC 258 pay-per-view card. But before we get to that, first and foremost, we have got the return of the freshest guest a man could ask for, the one and only purple strap holder himself, Mr. Fresho3. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right, brother. How are you doing?
I am here. I'm not talking like John Goodman today, so that's a plus.
Excellent. Yeah, it's last week. Anybody who hasn't gotten that
week, man.
Anybody who hasn't gotten that COVID vaccine, I tell you right now, that second dosage is a mofo.
That's what everybody seems to be saying. That second one kicks you in the dick pretty good.
Yeah, the first one, that second one. Whew. Man, like taking a fucking knee to the face. Huh?
Yeah, my cousin's a nurse, and she said the same thing. She's like, man, I feel like I just got the shit kicked out of me. I was like, really? Ironic. Yeah. That's what everybody seems to be saying. It feels like they just won 5 rounds.
Yep. They wake up on the couch like 5 days later feeling okay. And then you're like, all right, well, now the real fight starts, getting back to normal.
Right, yeah, getting back to the way it's supposed to be going.
Yep.
Well, we're glad to have you back at it, brother.
Thank you.
And as is the case more often than not across the octagon from myself, as it were, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit-talking compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. One day closer to another weekend of fights, albeit wondering why they're charging people pay-per-view money for this. But, you know, it is what it is. Everybody's got to make a buck somehow, and we know we don't get free title fights anymore. So, because, you know, it's not a new contract with Fox. It's not a new contract with ESPN.
Right.
You know, you would have figured when they did the new ABC thing, we would have gotten a title fight then. But no, either way, it is what it is.
You'd think, but, you know, that's what you get for thinking.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get a free title fight now that Khabib has officially said he's going to relinquish it and thinks Dustin should be fucking the champ.
Oh, no. Did you not see the news today?
Oh, did they drop something new?
Oh, yeah. Literally about 2 hours ago. Spoiler alert, was going to talk about it later. We'll talk about it real quick here. Dana actually released, he didn't release, he was doing an interview on someone's fucking radio show. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head now, but somebody on Sirius, and they asked him, now that Khabib has officially said he is retired like a half a dozen times publicly, and then said if anyone surprised him or impressed him that he would consider coming back, and that no one impressed him, so he is done, and he believes that Dustin should be the champion at this point. Dana said, I understand. We'll stop pushing after I have dinner with Khabib in Vegas next Friday. Dana literally said the words, Khabib is still the champ. He has not relinquished the belt, and we have not stripped him of it. Until I say otherwise, Khabib is still the champ.
In other words, I'm going to continue to hold up the division.
Yes, he
Or
is
hopes
just
that he comes back.
kneeling in front of Khabib, giving everything she's got in the microphone and just hoping and praying, despite Khabib telling him multiple times now, publicly, privately, in an interview, in a personal sit down face to face, he's retired. Move on.
He better make his gag reflex go away if he puts that dick any farther in his mouth.
I'm telling you, Khabib can't make it any clearer, Dana. He's just not that into you.
No means no, Dana.
Right? Fucking Khabib is getting me too'd by the boss. Oh man, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's the kind of bullshit we've come to expect from Dana at this point, but that doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't make it something that should be overlooked either. I mean, I'm not really sure at this point what Khabib could do or say to get Dana to finally say, we're gonna move on now.
God only knows.
There's no telling. But before we dive fully into the news here, I do want to take just a little bit here and give kind of a quick little recap over last weekend's holy shitness that fucking flew through. Give a quick little rundown for you guys real quick, and then I definitely want to talk about the medical suspensions from last weekend, because we have had some fucked up medical suspensions lately, but they were on a good path for a minute, and I knew better, but I let myself have a shred of hope, and they pissed in my face for it. So we'll get to that in a minute. First and foremost, coming right out of the gate, poor Rivera, man, 27 seconds, and Osborne just shut his fucking lights out right away. That's a rough way to fucking start your night. Like, he came out and just got fucking hammered. Some days you're the dog and some days you're the hydrant, and that boy was bright red. And not like a rocket. It was bad. I genuinely feel for the kid. I like Rivera, but that one caught him off guard. He's going to need to sit down for a minute for sure. Martin Day, so excited to fucking see him, and he went out there and he didn't make it easy, but he just couldn't quite do enough to tie that W up and bring it home. I really don't think it was the worst he could have done, but it definitely shows me 100% that he needs to get back to the drawing board. Either his camp is not doing him justice, or he's not listening to his coaches, or his coaches are just fucking idiots. Something in that process leading up to the octagon is not working for him, and he needs to get that drawing board straightened out. We kind of gave you a hint last weekend. Yusuf Zalal was coming for fucking war, and so was Choi, and those boys went the fuck at it. I was very, very impressed with the back and forth that those two put on. That was, in my opinion, that could have easily been fight of the night. That was fucking spectacular. One of the most surprising things for me personally, at least, out of nowhere, Laura Nonek comes in and does fucking work and beats the meatball's ass so bad that she threw her gloves down in the octagon, and we all thought, including the broadcasters, that she fucking retired. We thought that Nonek came in and did so much goddamn work that she made the meatball quit, like, for good. Come to find out later on that was like an homage to Molly's father who had passed, which I get it, cool, but read the room, Molly. That was not how you should have done that one, because you had everybody going, oh shit. Not that it wasn't impressive, but it kind of made that stoppage by Nonek that much more impressive. Like, careful how you do your gloves, especially in today's day and age when everybody's watching and they're waiting to see him get put down. Speaking of, we told you it was going to be a fucking war. Holy shit. Carol Rosa and Jocelyn Edwards, Carol Rosa and Jocelyn Edwards. Jesus titty fucking Christ. Those gals came to fucking battle, and sure the fuck did they go at it. I like Jocelyn Edwards. I really do, and I think she has got a whole lot in store for her down the line, but man, Carol Rosa came in there and put it down last weekend. Just fucking ass whooping for everybody, Oprah style. She is quickly climbing through that division, in my opinion, rightfully so. Another one completely out of left field, surprised the shit out of me. Not how I think any of us saw this one going. Poor Justin James out there just giving it for all she is fucking worth and trying to hang on for dear life. But Devontae Smith clipped him under his eye so fucking hard and so clean. There was no coming back. You could absolutely see exactly why the doctors decided to fucking call that one. Like, that shit was getting crazy real fast in a real bad way. Devontae Smith, again, another one quickly becoming a fucking favorite here. Go. Another one I don't think anybody saw coming. Poor Mike Rodriguez got choked the fuck out so efficiently that when the dude let go of the choke, Rodriguez came back and went after the referee. That's when you know it was fucking clean. When he can't differentiate between the guy he's fighting and the guy who's refereeing the match. And it legitimately took him a second to come to and be like, oh, shit. Yeah, damn it. Yep. But, man.
That fight, Mike Rodriguez lived up to his moniker, slow, because he looked slow.
He sure the
Like,
fuck did. He looked like he had
slow.
steel shoes on.
Like, dude, you need to change your moniker or something, because that was fucking miserable. I expected better out of him. I expected him to have a fairly easy night. And
that's what I was going to say. I thought it was going to be the other way around.
I figured it was going to be an easier run for him.
Yep. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought Rodriguez was going to have fucking easy work, make a quick fucking paycheck, and then be on his goddamn way. And oh, was I fucking wrong on that count. Another one, not to toot our own fucking horn here, but chew, people. We fucking told you Fahea versus Dariush was dark horse fight of the goddamn night. Boy, we hit the fucking nail on the head with that one. You want to talk about two guys that came to go to fucking war and nobody backed down? Those two went the fuck at it to such a degree that they did indeed get fight of the night bonus at the end of the night. Those boys fucking went at it. And then again here, the way that poor DiCirio should have done it the other day, or a couple weeks back, I guess. Dariush takes the time in his post-fight interview to give credit to Fahea, to give credit to where they are in this division, and to point out how fucked up some of the matchmaking is getting at this point. Didn't want to call anybody out, didn't want to talk shit about anybody, called out the process and the behind-the-scenes bullshit. Respect for that for sure. Honestly, that fight was close enough. They could have called it either way and I'd have been absolutely okay with it. They both came and were ready to go out on their fucking shields. Damn, if it was a great fucking fight. I went into this weekend not liking Pantoja, and I came out of this weekend not liking Pantoja. He absolutely did not win that goddamn fight. The caveat there, the caveat to that is Manel Cape so infuriatingly tap danced around the octagon too much, and I don't know if he was just gun shy or if he thought that he had it that much in the bag from the little that he did do, but he gave that fight away. Every time he engaged, he got a reaction and he landed clean. If he would have stayed, he would have gotten great results, in my opinion. But, and there went my fucking headset. Cool. But just could not fucking stick with it, could not put it down when he needed to for whatever reason. And he literally gave that fight away. Pantoja didn't win that shit. Cape gave it away. And that kind of sucks because that really took a lot of the steam out of what hype he may have had trying to be one of the next big crossover guys that they're really trying to make a thing out of. He was coming in from Ryzen to try and be basically the representative in the UFC, and he shit the bed. So that's out the fucking window now. Again, chew, but in the saddest way possible, I guess. We knew Clay Guida versus Michael Johnson wasn't going to be a barn burner, and it really kind of wasn't. To be fair, Clay Guida can still take a fucking shot, but that's not anything we didn't know, and that's not what we wanted to watch. We don't want to see Clay Guida the fucking human punching bag. I either want to see Clay Guida on one, tearing up the goddamn division, or I want to see Clay Guida the fisherman. I don't want to see anything in between. He has already been in more than his fair share of wars to prove how badass he is. He's in the Hall of Fame in the fight wing for the Diego Sanchez fucking war. He doesn't have anything left to prove. If he can't get back to the top and he's just going to have dudes beating the shit out of him, there's no fucking reason for him to keep doing this. The CTE is not worth the paychecks you're going to get. I promise. I genuinely still hope Johnson gets cut and Guida gets asked politely to consider hanging it up now. I don't think either's going to happen, but here's to hoping.
It was definitely two guys outside of their prime that didn't look in their prime. However, Clay Guida dominated that fight against Michael Johnson. So, I mean, he didn't look like the old Clay Guida, other than the fact that he still had a gas tank that was 10,000 miles and he could have ran. But
I mean, he's always going to have that.
Yeah, that wasn't going anywhere.
Like Clay Guida's going to be able to run 10 miles when he's 70 years old. Like, right. I don't think any of that's a question. But
no.
Yeah, I mean, Clay. It was. I hate seeing Clay take shots like he did, but then I mean, he had the wherewithal throughout the fight to pretty much take Johnson down whenever he wanted. So I mean,
absolutely did that. Yes.
You could say I'm not saying that Clay can't fight anymore, because he clearly can. He can put up a fight. But yeah, against the newer generation, the way he fought this weekend, it's not going to work. The way that he fights now is not going to work. He'll just take a beating, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it in the long run for Clay. And he's had some fantastic fights in the past and been absolutely, been an absolute joy to watch in the past. But yeah, it's getting time. It's going to be time where Clay needs to seriously consider hanging it up. Go fishing, brother.
That's right. That was his plan. He said, when I know that it's not time to do it anymore, you'll see me put down the gloves and pick up the fishing pole. Well, it seems like it's about time to make sure your tackle box is stocked up, buddy. And I agree completely. That's exactly one of the points that I was going to make here, is that, again, Clay Guida is that Captain America asshole who will just be lapping you going, on your left, and there's nothing you can do about it, because he's just going to keep going, and you will not fucking stop him, because that's fucking Clay Guida. But against this new breed of fighters, like they were even talking about it on the broadcast, Michael Johnson might not have the greatest record, but he is a legitimate veteran at this point. He has got more than enough fights in. He has got more than enough mileage in. At this point, he is considered a veteran. He's far from a fucking rookie. And even he couldn't even put on a performance enough to stop old ass Clay Guida at this point. So like kind of like we anticipated, it was disappointing on both sides here. Michael Johnson couldn't stop Clay Guida's takedowns, and Clay Guida couldn't use those takedowns that weren't getting stopped to finish the fucking fight when he got it to the ground. So I still legitimately hope Johnson gets cut and Guida gets to talk, but we'll see. That being said, absolutely no one in the fucking world predicted how that co-main event was going to fucking end. Corey Sandhagen, in the width of less than 3 minutes, bumped Jorge Masvidal completely out of the highlight reel and the common zeitgeist for knockouts. That Jorge on Ben flying knee will forever make me giggle like a little kid looking at a bra and panties magazine. But Corey Sandhagen, the only thing that I can really compare what he did to is when Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo. Because we've seen plenty of footage that he literally practiced that perfect 1-2 step off and fucking drop. He perfected rather the timing on that one move because he knew it was going to fucking work. And when the moment came, he put it out like crystal fucking precision timing, and it ended everything just like that. And then you saw Corey Sandhagen in that moment against Frankie Edgar stop, adjust, wait for Frankie to move, and lead him right into the most fucking vicious jumping knee that he placed perfectly and landed, and then just let Frankie fall because he knew it hit exactly how it should have, and then stepped the fuck back and walked away, and then made sure that Frankie was okay, because that's the kind of fucking classy dude that Corey Sandhagen is. That was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, that was a walk-off. Like he knew exactly what the game plan was to knock him out, and he let him into it until he had him exactly where he wanted. Hit the flying knee, hit one of the most gorgeous flying knees you're ever going to see. Like that's going to be on every knockout highlight reel for forever. And walked off. Like he didn't even look back initially. Like he knew that he knew that game was over. He knew that game was over the second he hit that. Like he didn't even look at Frankie Edgar again. He took off to his side of the octagon, turned around, and then came back. It was like,
yeah.
This was my look on Saturday. Like,
yeah, my jaw was in my fucking lap. Absolutely.
I was like, I have not seen a setup that clean in I don't know how long. That was a piece of art. That knockout was a piece of art. Like he just walked him into it. Game over. That was one of the cleanest game plans you're ever going to see. If anybody had any questions left about Corey Sandhagen, which I don't think anybody really did at this point, like that answered every question that you had.
I will say, for me, it surprised the fuck out of me, knowing what kind of chin Frankie Edgar has. However, the amount of force that was thrown behind that, I don't think anybody in the UFC wouldn't have went to sleep. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. Now, my hat is off to Corey Sandhagen. He did a fantastic job. However, this is the one concern I have with this fight. I think this may be that spot where we see Frankie start to take decline, because with the knockout that fucking hard, albeit only one punch, it wasn't a whole lot of damage over time. I think that might be that spot where you get that crack in that granite chin, and it just gets progressively worse. So I'm hoping that that's not the case, and he still got the granite chin. But man, he hit him like a fucking Mack truck doing 80, hitting the Geo Metro stalled out on the freeway.
Yeah, it was
a thing of beauty. It really was. But I have a feeling, and I hate to say it because Frankie has been the most game fucking fighter there has been in the UFC in the last fucking 20 years. I'll say it. He's always been, yeah, I'll fight. Doesn't matter who, I'll go to fucking war. He goes to war. He's only been knocked out one other time, That was by a clean ass fucking up. This one, that put Brian Ortega's uppercut to shame.
Yeah, I agree.
By a long shot. And to be honest, I think that may have more than chipped the granite. I think it straight cracked that shit. But we'll find out if and when he comes back to fight. Because
right.
I mean, I read a couple articles after this week. He doesn't remember leaving the octagon or anything.
I watched that interview this afternoon that he did with was it Daryl Walker, I believe.
Yeah.
And he straight up told him, like, in the moments in the octagon and then backstage, he didn't know where he was, that he was fighting, what day it was. He thought it was September. He thought he was getting ready for a training camp. He didn't know that he was in the arena. He didn't know that he had just fought. He asked his coach, like, I thought we were going to go jogging. It wasn't until they told him, we're going to go get a CAT scan. We're taking him straight to the hospital. Like, you're not going to the fucking post-fight press conference. Like, we're going to get you checked out right now. And they kept asking him questions like, who's the president? Where do you live? What's your address? What's your phone number? Things should be easily recalled. And then he said what triggered it for him was one of the nurses asked him, what's the date today? February what? And when he heard the word February, it all started coming back. And then he remembered that it's the 6th. Oh shit, today's the night I fight. If we're doing this, that means I got knocked out. I just fought Corey Sandhagen. Like, and it all started to roll back in. But he said there was a good long while it was gone, just completely gone. He had no recollection of the last like 4 months.
Yeah, that's a scary thing about head injuries, people. That shit happens. That's called a concussion for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, that's a serious concussion.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't see the medical suspension list, but I'm guessing that's at least 6 months.
Well, we're going to talk about that
by a
I've
doctor.
got that pulled up too. Yeah.
But I'm guessing at least 6 months for that. Even though it was a one-hitter quitter, that's in at least 6 months, because that was just the amount of head trauma he took was fucking terrible.
Yep. No, like you said, I got a message from a buddy of mine that was watching at his house as well. And as soon as that happened, he shot me a message and he was like, that might be the end of Frankie, not the career, but the ability to take a shot. That's always been one of Frankie's strongest fucking features. That's how he got through the fucking Gray Maynard wars. That's how he's gotten through basically half of his fucking career greatest fights, is being able to take a fucking shot and give one right back.
It's a bummer to see a former champ that happen.
Yeah, now we've seen not just two knockouts, but two brutal, hard impact knockouts within the span of a year and change. We said it a million times, and I'm sure we'll say it a million more. Your chin is the one thing you can't train. It doesn't come back. When that chin goes, it goes. There's no way to tell the expiration date on it or the punch that's going to do it or the kick that does it. But when that chin goes, it's gone, and it never comes back to what it used to be. It only ever gets worse and gets easier to trigger. And that's not anything you ever want to see somebody like Frankie Edgar start going through. And that's exactly the kind of shit that we don't want to see somebody like Clay Guida going through. This is why when these guys get to that point, I respect the fucking heart that they have got for still getting in there. But god damn it, we saw what happened to Muhammad Ali. We've seen Junior Seau's come and go. We know what CTE can fucking do. The paychecks aren't big enough to put yourself through that shit. Hopefully it's not the last time we see Frankie around, but I kind of do hopefully think, or at least wish a little bit, that it's the last time we see him put gloves on. That was rough. That was real fucking rough. Who knows what the next time could be or how much worse it could get, because that was worse than when Ortega knocked him out. That was way fucking worse than when Ortega knocked him out. The next one's going to be worse than that. When's the one that's too much? Hopefully that was the one. But we'll see. Speaking of knowing when the one that's too much. That main event was almost as hard to watch as the co-main event. Maybe not to the same degree, but it ended with the same feeling for me. You saw a guy go in there that you've seen be an absolute fucking world breaker and just get fucking done. Just flat out finished. And not lightly, not easily, not, graciously, not a close call, not, controversially. He got fucking finished. And the thing I think that pisses me off about it the most is that it was nothing that Volkov did special. Credit to Volkov for doing what he needed to do to win that goddamn fight, and he did. I will not take that away from him. But he didn't do it by doing anything spectacular or anything we haven't seen him do a dozen fucking times before to every other fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry. But he did it to fucking Reem, who was on a roll and looked like he was back in that fucking groove that he could give it the one last shot he needed to maybe finally touch that UFC gold. And Volkov was the speed bump that he got high centered on. And that sucks because he got his nose melted. I was having Rory McDonald flashbacks in that fucking fight. In my mind, I was thinking Robbie flattening Rory's fucking face with that punch when I saw Overeem take one that bent his nose flat. That was hard. That nose is fucked. I know he's got that Wolverine healing factor, but this one's going to be sore for a minute. And again, it wasn't anything that Volkov did special. It wasn't anything that he couldn't have, that Overeem couldn't have avoided 9 out of 10 other fucking times. But that's also an indication that maybe you need to start making sure your tackle box is full, because it might be about time to pick up a new sun hat and put down those fucking gloves for Alistair as well. And just as much as every other time we've just had to say this, that one sucks too, because again, Alistair Overeem is a literal fucking living legend of combat sports, not just UFC, not just MMA, but Grand Prix kickboxing. The fucking world of combat sports owes a small piece in part to Alistair fucking Overeem, regardless of what happens from here on out. Take that and fucking have your peace of mind with it. Everyone knows you went out there and gave it what you fucking had, but unfortunately, it just isn't enough. Hopefully that's the last time we see Overeem get really fucking hurt in an octagon. So, performance of the night went to Volkov for stopping Overeem. I kind of get it. And Sandhagen for the knee heard round the world. That one's undeniable. Again, fight of the night was Beneil Dariush and Diego Ferreira, absolutely deservedly so. The medical suspensions that I wanted to talk about here real quick. We like I said, we had some good ones for a little while, and I foolishly let myself get just the slightest shred of hope that maybe we were on the right path and they were finally starting to get things, reasonable. And so Frankie Edgar, after that knee, is suspended until April 8th.
Wait, what? April 8th?
April 8th.
Are you sure they marked that correctly? They didn't mean April 8th of 2022?
Nope. It is suspended until April 8th. No hard contact until March 24th.
Jesus Christ.
Clay Guida, because he got a split on his hairline, suspended until March 9th.
Okay.
Michael Johnson, the one that gave him that cut on his forehead, suspended until February 28th, just 3 weeks after that fucking fight. Pantoja has to be cleared by an orthopedic doctor because he broke a bone in both his fucking hands. March 9th. Manel Cape apparently hurt his thumb. Out until August 6th. Benil Dariush and Diego Ferreira suspended till March 9th. No contact till February 28th.
What?
Rodriguez has to clear an MRI for his left shoulder that got hurt apparently when he got choked the fuck out. Suspended until August 6th. Reasonable. Devontae Smith, the one that beat the shit out of Justin James and took virtually no damage in the process. X-ray on his right wrist that they think he popped during the fight. Suspended until August 6th. Justin James got a doctor stoppage. Suspended until March 9th. Carol Rosa, August 6th. Jocelyn Edwards, August 6th. Choi, February 28th. 3 weeks after that fucking war that he just went through. Rivera, 27 seconds, got knocked the fuck out. March 24th. What the fuck? Almost every person on that card that took little to no damage ended up with a suspension of 6 months. Both of the people who were knocked the fuck out got less than 2. Fucking Las Vegas, man. Fucking Las Vegas. Just when you think Nevada's finally starting to pull its head out of its ass, just the tiniest little bit. No. They ostrich that sumbitch right back down. Motherfuckers. But that being said, we do have just a little bit of news that I do want to go over here real quick. A couple of interesting fight announcements and change-ups that have happened in the last 48, 72-ish hours. There have been a couple interesting ones. Then we'll get into some UFC talk here. The first one, we weren't sure if they were going to. I was kind of curious to see if they were going to or not. They decided they are going to go ahead and give Mike Jackson another crack at it. And not just that, they're going to give him that same soup can making his debut. This time, like such a curly, ramen-headed Justin himself would say, it's going to be May 1st. They're going to let that fucking soup can back in the octagon. So here's to hoping that Dean Barry makes one of the greatest debuts we've seen in a long time. Interesting news from last weekend that's just getting brought up this weekend. The original fight that got changed and then rebooked and then scrapped at the last minute of Cody Stamann versus Askar making his debut. Askar has now officially been released from the UFC. Turns out he was pulled from the card last minute with the Cody Stamann fight because he was not medically cleared by the UFC doctors, and they would not say exactly what it was that he was not medically cleared for. Then we come to find out that they still aren't going to release what it was that they wouldn't clear him for the fight for. They just said that it was such a severe violation of UFC medical standards, they have decided to terminate his contract and release him. He is gone. Never even got to make his debut. So I am very curious as to what the actual fuck that dude was trying to pull off. Because I don't know that we've seen anything that extreme, that quick happen before. We've seen some quick turnaround and cut looses, but he literally didn't even get to make his debut. And within, I think, 4 days of the actual pulling from his card, he's cut and fucking free to the wind. So there's a story there that I'm waiting to fucking see unfold.
That's a little strange.
Right? There's something going on there. Like that's some serious shit that they're apparently just not quite ready to talk about yet. But I'm waiting for that fucking story. That one I think is going to be pretty interesting. Officially, we were going to have an extra fight on this weekend's card, but we are not now, thanks once again to the reunion tour. Pedro versus Jimmy Rivera is officially being moved, not canceled. They are going to put that on the February 27th card at the end of the month. I'm still not 100% sure how that fight's going to play out or why that fight was really made, but it is interesting and it's getting kept. So there is at least something we can count on for that card to give us a little ooh and ah. Interesting news for April's UFC pay-per-view 260. Johnny Walker has officially torn his pectoral muscle and is out of the fight versus Jimmy Crute. And up to the plate has stepped Anthony Lionheart Smith. That's a very, very interesting matchup, in my opinion. If Anthony Smith's head is back on his fucking shoulders where it needs to be, that could be a very, very fun fight. If it's not, Jimmy Crute's going to give him a very bad evening, I think. But this is going to be another one of those fights where it's all really going to be determined on which Anthony Smith we see actually get into the octagon, because we've seen before that it doesn't fucking matter what he says in the buildup. It doesn't matter what he says in Fight Week's press until he walks into that cage and we see which version of Anthony Smith actually showed up on the night. There's no way to fucking tell how the fight's actually going to go, but it could be really fucking fun.
Well, hopefully he's got his shit together after his last victory there.
Right.
Yeah, he really needed that last one.
Yeah, it was kind of do or die.
Yeah, well, we'll see. See what. Yeah, like I said, it depends on which Anthony Smith shows up, where his head's at. Hopefully, he's got it screwed back on right. But I don't know. After that beating that he took, it's tough to tell who's going to show up.
Right? There's no way to tell until that cage door closes.
Yeah, could be a lot of fun though. But Jimmy Crute's not a dude that you want to walk into a fight with your head not screwed on straight.
Yeah. And as ironic as it is, I didn't think or initially it was going to go that way, but it turns out Jimmy Crute has kind of become the embodiment of what we use as a reference to your first loss will make or break you. Your first loss as a professional, especially once you're into double digits, will either crumble your ego and just completely derail you as a fighter, which we have seen happen several times, or it will ignite a jet-fueled fire underneath your ass and ignite a hunger you didn't know you fucking have, and you will start putting out twice the effort, getting twice the results, and you will start fast-tracking where you thought you should have been going to begin with. And Jimmy Crute did absolutely that. He took his first ass whipping in stride, took it gracefully, and took it to the fucking gym. And he put the fucking work in, and he has been a very different young man since we saw him get beat. He understands a little better now, I think, and he is in that lane that you better fucking watch out, because if you ain't ready, he will run you the fuck over. If Anthony Smith shows up anything shy of 100%, that could be a bad fucking night for him. I'm legit. It sounds weird, but I'm legitimately proud to see the progress that Jimmy Crute has made. He absolutely took his fucking L and motivated. That's what you like to see as a fan. Poor fucking Mike. Previous Ultimate Fighter winner Mike Trezano just cannot catch a fucking break. Right after he won the Ultimate Fighter, he basically destroyed an ankle and an injury, was out for almost a year, finally got that ankle fixed, blew out his knee in physical therapy, rehabbing from the ankle, had to get surgery, completely rebuilt the fucking knee, finally got his knee back to 100%, doing everything slower and properly to make sure he was ready to get back at it. And he got himself a ticket to the Backstreet Boys. The poor fucking guy cannot catch a fucking break. And if you watch that season of Ultimate Fighter, that's also where we got guys like Usman and other fellers. There was a fucking cast on that season. There was some warriors in that season, and Mike Trezano came through kicking ass and taking names. He really did look like he had what it took to start fucking running. And then he just injuries. This is a perfect example of you can have all the ability, all the skill, all the fucking talent in the world, and injuries don't give a good goddamn because they're going to determine when and if you get to fight. And poor fucking Mike Trezano just can't win for fucking losing here. There's no telling how long he's going to be out at this point, but they have kind of made a point in this last week to say that unless it's a big time fight that the fans have been screaming for, they're not going to keep rebooking these matches that are getting bumped out because of the Backstreet Boys tickets. They're going to start moving on. So again, Trezano is going to have to get something when he finally gets back to good, but you hate to fucking see that, man. He just can't catch a break. Speaking of can't catch a break, Charlie Ontiveros made his official UFC debut coming off of the Contender Series against one Kevin Holland that just beat the fucking brakes off of him in I think a minute 32. Turns out, not only did he get his ass whipped in his debut, he also just caught himself a USADA suspension from that same debut where he got his ass whipped. He tested positive for the same thing that John Jones did. I can't remember the official metabolite. M4 is the abbreviation for it. It's a gigantic fucking term, but it's the same thing that John Jones initially pissed hot for and now has to piss under 100 picograms per sample for the rest of his career. He's only out till April, though. It's very strange in how this one came down. They only suspended him until April 9th, but in the process of determining he would be suspended until April 9th for testing positive for this metabolite, they also denied him a retroactive suspension from the time of the sample. So they gave him a short suspension, but they wouldn't make it a normal length and retroactive from the time of the incursion. It was from the time of the determination of what the actual metabolite was. So again, this is one of those things that we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier. Just when you think Nevada is starting to pull their head out of their ass and make a little bit of sense, you can pump those brakes. They're going to throw that logic right out the goddamn window.
I bet you they'd have figured that shit out quick, fast, and in a hurry if it was something along the lines of a Nate Diaz Masvidal fight.
Right? Almost
Weird
like
how
they
they
figured
take
that out in a weekend.
You're not a fucking household name.
Yeah, kind of strange how that works, isn't it? But it ain't pretty, but it needs to be talked about. And this is one of those things that I try and make a point of. I'm not here just to tell you guys the fun shit, not just the cool shit, not just the things that you should look out for, but the stories that are going to slide under the radar, the stories that are going to get swept under the rug by a lot of the mainstream quote unquote MMA journalists. Daniel Strauss was officially arraigned this week because he went fucking crazy legitimately, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic or in a joking term. I don't mean that in a malicious term. I'm not saying that, you know, facetiously. I mean that quite literally. He had a mental breakdown and attacked his girlfriend and then stabbed her. He apparently got a text message from her trying to end the relationship. He showed up at her place of work screaming about infidelities, ended up actually hitting her at her place of work. She got in her car to hide from him. He tried to break the car door open. She ended up driving off. He met her at her house where they continued it again. They fought some more. He left. She went to go get her things from his apartment. He stabbed her. This is felony. This isn't a misdemeanor. This isn't a domestic dispute. This is fucking felony assault. This, as horrible as it is to even have to say, is stark and frighteningly reminiscent of what happened with Tony Ferguson. He got into a fight with his girlfriend. He locked her in a fucking closet. He kidnapped his toddler and got in a high-speed pursuit with the police with his kid in the backseat of the car, no seatbelt on. It got swept under the fucking rug because everybody wanted to see Tony and Khabib for the 5th fucking time they tried to put it on. Daniel Strauss, to his credit, had a horrible motorcycle accident a couple of years ago that they thought he would never walk again, let alone recover enough to get back to fighting status. And he did. He put himself through the fucking PT and got himself not only back to walking, but got back in the fucking Bellator cage and put on a hell of a fucking match and got back to fighting shape. And then had a legitimate mental fucking breakdown. And I have, to their credit, seen 2 of the bigger MMA journalism outlets put something about this story out, but on both places it was the equivalent of something buried in the 8th page of the newspaper in 2-point font. It was the least they could write about it to say that they wrote something about it, and that's not fucking good enough. This, in my opinion, should get more attention than the fucking title fight coming up this weekend, because this is the kind of shit that has been swept under the rug for too fucking long. The world of combat sports ain't all fucking glitter and roses, and we can't fucking pretend it is. This kind of shit can't be allowed. There's never a situation where something like this should be considered okay or let it pass. This needs to fucking be addressed, and the fact that more outlets aren't covering this fucking story boils my goddamn blood. It ain't pretty, but it needs to be fucking talked about because it's what's happening right now, and it's fucking relevant. Daniel Strauss is in his 30s. This isn't a guy who's been punch drunk for 20 fucking years. This is a young man in the prime of his fucking life in his fighting career who snapped. And it's getting swept under the fucking rug. I'll take 5 minutes and I'll talk about it. And I'll get fucking angry about it. And I genuinely hope everyone watching and or listening to this gets just as fucking angry about it. And I hope you tell someone about it, because this is the kind of shit that needs to be fucking brought up by more fans so that the journalists understand we want to fucking know about this. We don't want this kind of shit to be let go or ignored because it's not a pretty headline. It's not clickbaity enough for you to get your fucking views. This is the real world of combat sports, and it needs to be fucking acknowledged. That being said, we did have some less aggravating news this week, thankfully. We did find out that Bellator and Scott Coker have signed a new exclusive contract. We also kind of, in a roundabout way through this new contract, found out that their contract with Paramount expired and was not offered to be renewed. So they haven't been shopping for a new home of their own accord either. But they have found a new home. They signed an exclusive deal this week with none other than Showtime. Bellator is now exclusively on Showtime and all Showtime platforms. They are kicking off the debut of this Showtime broadcasting contract, I guess it would be, on April 2nd with Pitbull versus Emmanuel Sanchez 2. Pretty good fucking fight. Interesting move on Coker's part to take it exclusively to Showtime. I kind of feel like that's jumping the shark just a little bit, maybe. Good for them. Absolutely good for them. That's going to get them a lot more eyes and a lot bigger eyes on their events. But when those events start going head to head against the UFC, and you're going to look at ESPN numbers versus Showtime numbers, and then it's going to be a tangible metric, you might not be as happy about that move as you thought you were initially. I hope they do well over there.
I have this strange feeling Showtime's not going to be happy with them paying Bellator either. Look,
I don't see this being a long-lasting partnership.
I mean, Bellator had it right. Do their shit on Fridays. Don't put it on a Saturday where you have to compete with
go ahead.
The UFC, who has a fucking massive contract with the worldwide leader in sports. Yeah. Look, it doesn't make sense, but hey, I guess do your thing. Maybe if Showtime's smart, they'll continue to do Friday cards because that would be in their best interest.
Yes, I agree. If nothing else, it would be way better than the fucking Thursday fights that they had been putting on for ABC or for CBS Sports, rather.
Yeah.
Those were just fucking weird. It was like Thursday, like late morning, early afternoons, or Thursday, like super late evenings, like while we're broadcasting, literally. Both awkward times to put on combat sports. But we'll see where they go. They did make a couple of announcements. It wasn't just the Showtime announcement. Bellator did come through and drop a small bucket of announcements on us here. They are starting a light heavyweight tournament April 9th. Opening matchups include Ryan Bader versus Lyoto Machida and Yoel Romero versus Rumble Johnson. They ain't wasted no fucking time. They're trying to throw all their big names in one fucking cluster to get people's attention. So that's going to be an interesting move. Their tournament style has brought a lot of attention, and I kind of like the way they play that out. So we'll see how that goes. They did announce, though, that because Ryan Bader is participating in the light heavyweight tournament, despite having lost the light heavyweight belt to Vadim Nemkov not that long ago, very handily, by the way, he is trying to get it back, obviously, in taking part in this tournament. But he is also still currently the Bellator heavyweight champion. Scott Coker did specifically address this because I sure the fuck hope that somebody would have asked him about it, but they did. They just waited till late in the interview. They asked him what the fuck is going to go on with the heavyweight belt if you've got Bader competing at light heavyweight in a tournament where he could potentially have to fight his next match at light heavyweight again. That's literally just tying up the heavyweight division that he's already hasn't fought in since November of 2019. So we're pushing a year and change. We're looking at a year and a half almost here, and he hasn't defended that belt. And there are, much like in the UFC, very much a logjam of top fucking contenders over in Bellator who have more than earned their shot at that fucking strap. So Scott Coker said that he is not going to strip Ryan Bader of it because they have to see how this April 9th plays out. And if he does have to stay at light heavyweight or not. But if he does win on April 9th and then does have to compete again at light heavyweight, they are going to put an interim title in place. So they're basically going to let the top 2 fight out for the number 1 contender status and then use the interim and unification fight after that to basically kick the can down the fucking road till the end of the year and give Bader another chance to get the light heavyweight belt back in the meanwhile. A little fucked up, but at least they're not log jamming completely and just telling him, I don't believe that the champion has an issue and we're not going to strip him. He's still the champion, you know. But it'll be interesting to see how that tournament plays out. Another interesting announcement that we got from Bellator, their Bellator 258 card on May 7th now officially has its headline match, and I am fucking down for it here. Juan the Spaniard Archuleta versus Sergio Pettis. I've been fucking saying it, and I'm gonna fucking keep saying it. Sergio is the Pettis brother with talent, not personality, talent. Anthony might be able to put the fucking glasses on and pretty talk his way onto a Wheaties box with a weird kick against Benson, but Sergio is the one who consistently performs in the cage, not just worrying about the glitz and the glamour and the fucking hype. Archuleta is no fucking easy payday, but I think stylistically, those two are going to make for fucking fireworks. Let's see here. We did get a little bit of a unexpected and kind of a what the fuck announcement for next month's UFC 258 in regards to the Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya fight. To the surprise of pretty much everyone, Glover Teixeira announced that he is officially been tapped by the UFC to be the backup for that fight. After we saw his last performance, he basically used his post-fight interview time to say, I want to be the backup for that fight. I am more than capable, and I think I am deserving of being in that backup position.
Yeah.
Turns out Dana agreed. He's official. He's the fucking backup. They are going to give him show money, not win money, but show money to have him show up and make weight just in case.
Fuck yeah.
I'm cool with it. I would much rather see Glover get a shot like that than Michael fucking Chandler. Take
Yes,
a guy
sir.
in the organization, in the top, deserving of a fucking opportunity, and let him be the backup. Don't hire some new fuck stick. There's no reason for that. Now, that being said, I still hope that fight goes through and we don't need Glover, but I would much rather see Glover get that opportunity than someone like a Chandler. In terms of next weekend's UFC card, we did get an announcement just today. Jai Herbert is out. He is injured. So we will not get to see him versus Jakar Close. But we did get a last-minute replacement, so the fight is being kept on just over a week's notice. Stepping up to the plate, none other than Violent Bob Ross himself, Luis Pena, coming fresh off of his Devil's Lettuce induced suspension. See how I tied that together? Stepping in on short notice to take on Jakar Close next weekend. I was kind of excited to see that Jai Herbert fight, but I'm not going to lie. I think Violent Bob Ross could make it just as interesting with a different kind of style. Here we go. Last one I've got here before we get into some UFC talk. We got news yesterday afternoon. Bellator has officially signed Zabit's younger brother, also a featherweight, just like Zabit is. He is currently 6-1, and pulled off a twister in his fight last year, in his most recent fight last year. Managed to pull off a twister. I am paying attention, sir. I would very happily hope to be yet another one of these situations where we've got one sibling who is a douchebag and gets ridiculously overhyped, and then another sibling from that same family who just quietly kicks ass and takes name and becomes my favorite. Zabit is one of the most overhyped fucking UFC fighters I have ever seen, undeservedly so. I would absolutely love to see his brother turn out to be a legitimate fucking stud and start kicking ass and taking names over in Bellator. Same way Sergio did. That being said, only time's going to tell. So, with that being said, that will bring us to this evening's namesake marquee placeholder, the reason for the season, the title of this particular episode's motivator. It's a problem. Uh-oh, we got fingers here.
Did I miss something? Did you cover the Kamzat Chimaev fight being canceled again?
No, you're right. It's because I wrote my notes so fucking tiny.
That was just canceled again today because he's
yeah.
still having COVID-related issues.
Yeah, no, there's actually, I'm glad you said that because there are actually another note that I wrote next to that in tiny fucking print because sometimes I write shit last minute. The Kamzat Chimaev is still suffering from Backstreet related symptoms to such an extent that they have officially scrapped that fight again, and for good this time. Dana said at this point it is just too much. They are going to move on and they are going to find Leon Edwards another opponent, and then when Kamzat finally gets back to good enough to compete, they will find him another opponent as well. I am genuinely glad. I did not want to see that become a fucking Tony and Khabib situation.
I mean, with the way that vaccine's kicking my ass, like it makes sense. Makes sense. I never did get a ticket directly to the reunion, but yeah, I get it. I get it. You wanna make sure that you're back full, and like every once in a while I still get flashes of weakness and dizziness and all sorts of good stuff. So it's not something you want to have happen to you in the middle of a fight. So
right.
Then I did see last minute before we came on, the nicest motherfucker in the UFC threw his hat into that arena for Leon.
Again.
Say, hey, if you're up for it, I'm up for it. Let's do a number 3 and number 5 here.
That's right. And
I'm like,
to be fair,
I actually like that fight.
To be fair, he did the same thing prior to them announcing that it was officially Leon's fight. The last time there was an opening here, nicest motherfucker in the game threw his hat up there very politely and said that he would love to be the next matchup. I would not be mad at a full camp Wonder Boy versus Kamzat fight at all. I would not be mad at a full camp Wonder Boy versus Leon fight at all. At this point, Wonder Boy's been on the shelf for too fucking long and deserves a shot somewhere. Give the man a goddamn fight. He's not going to get nasty about it, but he's been very public in asking very politely, but very public in saying he's more than ready. He's waiting. He's offering himself up on every opportunity that presents itself and in opportunities that aren't there in trying to stir something up. Give Wonder Boy a chance. But the other one that they did here, we got a pair of announcements in regards to the March 13th card. Ryan Hall tore his hip flexor and is officially out of the fight with Dan Ige. They have not announced who they are going to get to replace that, or if they are just going to scrap that altogether and give Ige another fight somewhere down the road. But Ryan Hall is on the sideline for a foreseeable minute. The other card, or the other fight rather, that has been switched around due to injury, is that the newbie Dan Madge is now going to be facing Nasrat Hakparast because his opponent got injured as well. So we are still getting to see Nasrat on that card, but he will be fighting a newbie in Don Madge, making his debut. But Ryan Hall is out and sidelined for a minute with that hip flexor torn. The other announcement that we got just 2 hours ago this evening, Dominic Reyes has officially been declared hurt and is out out of his fight. We're doing it live against Yuri Prochaska on May 1st. That one I am a little sad to see go down because that one I feel like really had legitimate impact on the division here, because that would have kind of shown exactly where Yuri Prochaska is in regards to Dominic Reyes, who we know is still at the top of the stack, but clearly not the top of the stack. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're very much pushing Prochaska straight up the fucking rankings. So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with him now that we know that Reyes is officially hurt and out of it. That being said, though, that will actually bring us into this weekend's extremely disappointing pay-per-view card that is UFC 258. There have been some shitty main cards. There have been some uninteresting prelims and early prelims lately. There have been some mediocre at best fight nights in the last couple months. I genuinely do not remember the last time we had a numbered pay-per-view UFC card, top to bottom, as weak as this one is. Now, that's not to say there's not still some very interesting fights on this card, and we're going to get to those in a little bit. But overall, just quality comparison to, just for argument's sake, the last 12 numbered pay-per-views since last January, since Connor and Cowboy, this is absolutely the weakest top to bottom fucking pay-per-view we have seen so far. I would say arguably one of the weaker cards in the last 12 months, period. But absolutely the weakest pay-per-view card we have seen in the last year at the very least. But like I said, there are a few diamonds in the rough that are still going to make this card interesting. I absolutely would not advocate paying for a fucking card like this, but there are still some fights on here that will be at the very least worth catching the replays on Sunday. One of those being the opening fight. That is one of the few things they did absolutely right with this card. The opening matchup is Jillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. They're going to let the ladies get out there and go fucking ham. Jillian Robertson is a fucking badass that she said herself does not take days off. And if you follow her social media, she's not bullshit. Every fucking day, if not a post, there's a story from her where she is at Dean Thomas's house making him hold fucking pads because she needs fucking mitt work, or she is in the gym grinding, or she is in jitsu training, working to get better. She doesn't take time off. She is always trying to improve. The absolute same can be said of Miranda Maverick, and we have seen both of them come out with some hit and miss performances, but still with both of them more often on than not. Both of them are very eager to get in the cage against each other this weekend. So I think that's going to be a hell of an opening matchup. Honestly, I think that one is too close for me to call. Stylistically, they're very different. Game plan, though, they both get in there and stick with what they're going for. So It's going to be interesting to see how they shake loose, how they've game planned for each other, because they both listen to their coaches very well, but they also both stick to a very discernible game plan. I'm curious. The first one on here, though, that really gets my antennas perked up. They teased us with it, I think, 3 times before, and we finally get it on this card, assuming nothing goes wrong between now and Saturday. Ricky Simone versus Brian Kelleher. Ricky Simone has been on an absolute fucking tear, working his way back up the fucking rankings after he lost a little bit of steam thanks to the California middle-aged man. Kelleher, on the other hand, is in the middle of a bit of a skid. He came in and made a big noise real quick, and then the steam got let out of his bag pretty fucking hard. So Kelleher is really in a situation where he's got a lot to prove, whereas Ricky Simone is kind of back in the groove of kicking ass and taking names again. It's not that I don't like Brian Kelleher, but his style is real predictable. He's real easy to read, even as a fan through the TV. He's real easy to read. And I think a guy like Ricky Simone is going to be able to get that in the moment. And I feel like he's just going to be too fucking much for Kelleher, because Kelleher can be easily frustrated and he can almost be baited into bullfighter style charging at you. If you give him the opportunity and leave him the opening, he's going to try and come at you, and you can almost lure him into it. We've seen it happen a couple times. And a guy like Ricky Simone, who's got that clean fucking striking, if he baits you in, he's going to put Kelleher on his fucking face. He's going to be napping canvas, I think. I don't see this fight making it out. I don't see this going the distance. I think Ricky Simone gets him out of there in 2.
The power of the mullet is coming back, so
Right.
I'm just going to leave it at that, and that's a scary thought now that he realized he fucked up, and he's got his shit back together by growing the mullet back up. So,
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Simone, I think, will probably frustrate Kelleher, probably relatively quickly, because he really likes to push forward. That's not what Kelleher likes to deal with. He likes to kind of circle around and then work into a submission attempt of some sort. And I don't think that's going to work on Ricky Simone. Simone's been looking really sharp these last couple fights. Looks like he's taken his losses and understands why he lost, and has worked on those portions of his game, which is a good sign of a up and coming really good fighter. And we all knew Ricky had some potential in him, and it's nice to see him start realizing it. So I'm gonna agree with Meter. I don't think it makes it out of 2.
So that being said, that will bring us to one of the interesting matches in the prelim card, because being a pay-per-view, this does have an early and a prelim. Luckily, we get that Ricky Simone Brian Kelleher match as the quote-unquote early prelim premier match, so that should help get some eyes on it. But then we move into the actual prelim card, and we get another matchup that we've been talking about for a little while here, waiting to see finally coming through this weekend, barring anything happening between now and then. Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima. This has the potential to be one of 2 things, in my opinion. Either Diego isn't going to bother with any groundwork, and this is going to be just a fucking striker's delight match, because Belal will stand in the pocket and fucking trade with you, but Diego's not afraid to either. So it's either going to be a striker's delight and we're going to see some fucking power shots get thrown, or Diego's going to use his brain and realize that Belal's going to want to punch the fuck out of him, and he's going to use that crazy fucking jujitsu that he's got and he's going to try and get Belial to the ground, where he has a history of having big fucking problems, not just with jiu-jitsu guys, but even with decent wrestlers. If you can put Muhammad on his back, he struggles. He gets into turtle mode, and it frustrates him real easy. And we've seen that time and time again. And those Lima boys, are fucking dangerous. Both of those brothers are fucking serious world-class fucking martial artists as a whole. I think if Diego tries to stay standing and make it a striker's delight, it's still going to be good and it's still going to be interesting, but I think it's actually going to favor Muhammad in that situation. I know it's dangerous, but I'm hoping here that, seeing as how Lima's not a soup can and he knows his shit, he's going to use his fight IQ and be able to know that this fight will much better suit him putting Muhammad on his back. I think Lima knows what he needs to do, and I think he does exactly that. I think he's smart enough to game plan for Muhammad's style. I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to put him down. Another one. I don't think this one sees the end of the match. I do think this one does go at least early and midway into the third, though, because both these guys do have gas tanks. But I think in the end, I think Lima is just too fucking well-rounded, and I think he's going to be able to use his fight IQ and get what needs to be done. I think Muhammad loses. I think Diego takes it to the third to get there, though.
I'm going to disagree. I mean, Bilal Muhammad does have a tendency to go turtle shell, but he has shown a little bit of work the last couple times we've seen him, but he's won like 7 of 8. Yes. Every round has to start on his feet, and I think Bilal Muhammad, at this point, he's shown me enough skill as a striker that even if the shots come, I think he's going to be able to hold him off enough to work his game and get. If I had to guess, it'll probably come down to a TKO. I think he'll catch him with a shot and then finish him with some ground and pound. But I don't see a straight knockout coming through this. But I think Bilal Muhammad has shown me enough in these last several fights that I think he's a precise enough striker. And he's certainly got the power to turn this into a TKO somewhere. I agree. This fight, either way, it's not going to a full decision.
Yeah, I don't think
either this is going to be a knockout, either it's going to be a knockout / TKO, or it's going to be a submission. And I think Bilal Muhammad has shown me enough recently that I'm going to put my money on either a knockout or a TKO somewhere in the first or second.
Interesting. I agree. Diego keeps it standing. I think you may be onto something there.
This is a bit of a coin flip for me, to be quite honest, on who wins this fight. With the exception of one thing, we haven't seen Lima in the octagon since 2019, and that's a long layoff for any Lima. If you don't know, I say any Lima, go look at Bellator. But look, Lima's last loss, if I remember correctly, goes back like 5 years, and I think it was to Yushin Okami. Way back. I want to say it was like in 2016 or 17, maybe 18. I could be way off here, but then we didn't see him in the octagon at all last year. Now, on the other side of this, Bilal Muhammad, he's been pretty fucking active. What do you have, 2 or 3 fights last year? And he's been on an absolute tear. He's had one stumble in there, but I mean, minus his first couple fights in the UFC where he was still getting his legs under him, he's been on an absolute tear. Now, when I say that in a light sense, because a lot of his wins have come via decision. But he's also had, was it 2 fights ago? He got the 3rd round submission over Takeshi Sato, right?
Yeah, over Sato.
Yeah, so that says he does have some ground game, but only when he's on top. But to be honest, I think this is going to be an absolute fucking coin flip, and it's going to depend on whether Lima has any ring rust after a year off, a year and some change. So I don't foresee that happening though, because if he's been training with his brother at all, there shouldn't be an issue there. I'm hoping he continues his tear. And it's not that I dislike Bilal Muhammad, because I don't have anything against the guy, but I just like Limas as a whole. But to be honest, this is a coin flip. This is a 50-50 for me. Because we know Lima's got the toolbox. He's got a great training partner in his brother, who's a current champ. And then Muhammad, like I said, he's been on a fucking tear too. So this is going to be a really good fight. In fact, I'll go as far as one of these guys will get switched off, and we could still possibly see fight of the night out of this, because it might not happen till the third round.
I could see that. Yeah, I could absolutely see that. No, I agree. I love both the fucking Lima brothers. I'm so fucking stoked. I really legitimately wish we could get fucking Douglas over in the UFC, but at least Diego's over here. So we've got a Lima brother. I'm right there with TJ. I got nothing against Bilal Muhammad. I think my biggest problem with him is I get him mixed up with Sadawad too much, because they both comment stupid shit on fucking Instagram posts all the fucking time, and I literally go after those motherfuckers when they say stupid shit. I don't give a fuck. So I think my biggest problem with him is I get him mixed up with Sadawad too often. But no, I think that's going to be a great fucking fight. Which brings us to our next fight, the opening fight on the main card. Ironically enough, speaking of people that I've gotten into it with on Instagram, I actually just this afternoon got into it with the fucking soup can himself, Mean Bobby Green, on Instagram, talking about how our show favorite here, Jim fucking Miller, is going to beat his ass this weekend. Not really a whole lot I really even need to say about this match. Bobby Green is a fucking soup can, and I'll say that to his fucking face if I ever get the lovely opportunity. Jim fucking Miller all day long, however the fuck he wants it.
Greatest thing for this, for me, Jim Miller's taking this fight on short notice. On very short notice. By the way, if people didn't know. Also, Jim Miller's goal in the UFC is to have 40 fights and fight on UFC 300. So
this is 37.
Yeah. So he very well could pull this off.
Fucking good.
And he has looked pretty good lately. So, I mean, just saying, there's all that possibility in the world that we could see that come to fruition. Because right now, he is tied for most fights in the UFC with a one Donald Cerrone, who has a fight coming up as well. So, I mean, there's some excitement to be had here.
That's a fun race to watch.
Yeah. I've not been a fan of Bobby Green at all. He is the most hot, cold fighter that I think we've seen in quite some time. Like, he'll win one, lose one, win one, lose one. It reminds me of a lot of the talent that they're bringing into like the women's strawweight division, where they're bringing in these girls who are supposed to be great, but they just can't seem to get the fucking party bus rolling. Green was supposed to be that same guy as fucking well, and seems like every time he gets the bus rolling, he gets a flat fucking tire. Say what you will about Jim Miller. That dude's been around a long fucking time. He's a legend, and he's gonna keep trucking. I mean, fuck. Look at the shit he's doing on a regular daily basis. Like, the chest plow.
That's what I was just gonna say. The fucking goat path, man.
Yeah, I mean,
The fucking goat path video was gold.
He's just a tough built fucking individual. That's all there is to it. And I think he gets another submission victory here. I have a feeling that we might get to see another lovely fucking guillotine choke inbound.
I wouldn't be mad at that in the least bit. I would giggle like a fucking schoolgirl as he choked Bobby Green's stupid fucking face unconscious.
Yeah, Jim Miller's that crafty old bastard. He just keeps piling it up, and he's fun to watch on Instagram. Like every once in a while, I'll be flipping through, and I'm like, Jim Miller, huh? Let's see what's going on here. And he's doing something nuts, and it's funny. He's got a great sense of humor. He seems like one of the nicest guys in the UFC. I have a hard time picking against him anytime he does anything, even on short notice. I mean, he's like I said, he's a crafty old man at this point. He's one of those guys. Never comes in looking like he's in the best of shape, but then next thing you know, he's choking somebody unconscious. So
Right.
I'm gonna go with the choking somebody unconscious route. So I'll pick Jim Miller too.
Absolutely. So that will bring us to I'm gonna say probably in my opinion the weakest fight on the main card. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that maliciously. I don't mean that to be a slight towards either one of these gentlemen. It's just that both of these guys have yet to really show us anything impressive. And the first half of this matchup makes me extra sad to have to say that. We're talking here, of course, about Maki Coconut Bombs Patolo versus Julian Marquez. Maki Patolo came into the fucking UFC like a meteor, just absolutely on fire and looking to wreck shit. And then he turned out to be more of a comet, and it seems like most of the best of what he came with burnt up in the upper atmosphere, and we're not really left with a whole lot as we're getting closer to ground level. And that sucks because I really fucking like Maki Patolo, and I thought he had such a fucking bright future ahead of him. And then he's another one of those that came in shining like a fucking gemstone and then tripped over his own dick and could not get off of it. It seems like every time Maki Patolo comes out there, he looks great for the first 10 seconds. And then for whatever fucking reason, he just cannot put it together and keeps getting fucking worked. Julian Marquez is kind of on the opposite side of that. He kind of came in without much hype, without much hubbub around him, and has shown some flashes of fucking greatness, but almost still seems like the bright lights of the UFC are too much for him. Like, when they stick him on a fucking prelim against a soup can, he looks spectacular. And then they put him against even somebody his own like age range, newish level, and he almost freezes up a little bit, which is strange because he's one of those ice cream cone shaped motherfuckers that looks like he's skipped leg day since he was 12, but hasn't never not lifted a fucking dumbbell every day. Like, he's one of those dudes that is all upper body, and if he connects, you're going to dreamland. But it seems like he just hasn't been able to put it together himself either. So it's like we got a guy who should have but couldn't, and a guy that nobody thought could and kind of can, but has no consistency to him. Like I said, this is the weakest fight on the main card in my opinion here. Unfortunately though, I've got to pick against Coconut Bombs here because we have seen that his chin is definitely a weak point in his game. Julian Marquez packs one hell of a fucking punch, and if he connects, it's a bad news situation for the best of us. For a guy who's got a chin that ain't that fucking strong, that's a recipe for sleepy time. I think Marquez is just too goddamn strong, and Patolo's chin is just too fucking weak. It's almost inevitable, in my opinion. I don't think we see a third round here. I think Marquez gets him out either late in the first or early second.
Yeah, Coconut Bombs has let me down too many times. Too many times. I saw the potential when he first came in, and that potential's still there. He has the potential to be a really nice fighter. I don't think he's ever going to be a champ, but you know he's got the potential to be one of those guys that climbs up into it gets himself a numbered spot for a little bit. You know, comes that middle ground fighter that you know you can count on him to go on a 3-win streak here and there. He's still got that. He's still got that potential, but he just, for whatever reason, he just cannot seem to get everything together all in one package all at once, and it's really cost him so far in his career. And he's fighting a dude that is gonna probably switch him off. Ow! My cat just tried to jump up in my lap, and I got a lap full of claws. So yeah, I can't pick coconut bombs until he shows me something more. So it's easy as that for me.
I think they're doing Maki Pitolo a favor here. And by that, I mean they're letting him be on the pay-per-view portion of the card for his final fight in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight. This will be 3 strikes and you're out. Now, Julian Marquez on the other side of this, he hasn't fought in the octagon since 2018, since he tore his latissimus dorsi muscle right here on the back during a fight in which he ended up losing because, well, you tear that fucking muscle during a fight, you basically can't fight. In fact, they were under the impression that he may never fight again after that. So for him, this is going to be a reintroduction to the current state of affairs that are in the UFC and what type of new talent is there. And I see talent loosely because, to be honest, Maki Pitolo has not shown me a goddamn thing. Everybody thinks that he looked great his first couple. I didn't think he was all that impressive. I thought he had some potential, but nothing to write home about. I'm excited to see what Marquez does coming off of such a possibly career-ending fucking injury, not to mention how has he healed up from this? Because, I mean, he's been off for 2 years and some change now, and that's going to bring with it a little bit of ring rust. I hate to say that, and Maki Pitolo has been pretty active, although actively getting his ass kicked, still active. So, I mean, I'm going to call this more of a coin toss, but I think this is Maki Pitolo's goodbye ceremony. I think Marquez does get it done. Just because, well, Maki Pitolo hasn't done shit. Although I will say, you could not have a better matchup as far as nicknames are concerned. Coconut Bombs versus the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
What more could you fucking ask for in some nicknames, you know?
Yeah. That's a hell of a marquee filler name set right there.
I'm just saying.
I agree. That, unfortunately, as you can tell by my enthusiasm, will bring us to the people's co-main event, as it were, the third from last slot on the main card. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. I legitimately struggle to say something good about this fight. Not just because I don't like Ian Heinisch or Kelvin Gastelum, but Ian Heinisch has basically dumb luck stumbled his way into the position that he is in undeservingly. Not just in the UFC, in life in general. If you know his backstory, there's a reason our show's favorite casual absolutely fucking hates his guts, and it's well fucking earned. He's kind of been a piece of shit for the better part of his life, and he still thinks he comes out smelling like a rose in the end. But the problem there is that standing across the octagon from him is the shell of what used to be Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum versus Israel Adesanya is one of the best title fights the UFC has ever presented, period. No asterisks, no aside, no parentheses, period. That was a fucking 5-round war. That's what it's supposed to look like when you've got two guys who both want that title with every fiber of their fucking being. The problem is that that was the last time we saw that fire from Kelvin Gastelum. I don't know if it was the defeat against Izzy itself or just the realization that through all the shit he had been, it still wasn't enough to get him that belt. But for whatever reason, after that fight, we have seen a steady decline in Kelvin Gastelum. And it's almost come to a culmination in the point that if you've watched the Embedded series this week leading up to this weekend's card, you got to see that Kelvin Gastelum has all but quit. His whole motivation, his whole drive, his whole fire that he used to have is gone. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He's still loosely associated with Rafael Cordero and the other guys down at the gym, but for the most part, Kelvin's girlfriend is his head coach, nutritionist, and scheduler right now. She's organizing his workouts, she's helping him with meal prep, and she's scheduling his press right now. Just the 10 minutes or so that we've gotten to see in the Embedded series gives you a very, very good glimpse into how not serious he's taking this right now. Even in talking about how his nickname and his social media handle is Quest for Gold. He wants all the gold. He sounds like someone cosplaying as Stephen Wright. There's no enthusiasm in his voice. He's talking about winning a titleship in the same level of excitement that Stephen Wright tells the spot joke. You're never going to be anything more than a speed bump in the UFC with that attitude. And I'm not saying that it's not deserved. He has had a fucking brutal trip down the ladder that he worked so hard to climb. But like we said with Jimmy Crute earlier, your losses will absolutely define you more than your wins. How you handle a loss and come back or don't will say more about you and your career and your legacy than any victory you have on that same resume. And we have seen not only Kelvin Gastelum lose, but get dropped and then seemingly just let go of the spark that got him to the title fight to begin with. And the fact that he's at such a point now where he's willing to just give up the wheel of his entire camps to his girlfriend, who, if you watched, is fucking clueless. She may be the nicest gal in the world, but when it comes to training a world-class champion athlete, she is out of her fucking element. Mark it a 0, Donnie. So it's hard to call because on one hand, we've got Ian Heinisch, who is literally mediocre at best. At best. On his best fucking day, he's meh. But then on the other side of the octagon, we've got Kelvin Gastelum, who we know for a 100% fucking fact has world-class greatness in him. But his give a fuck is broken. And in this sport, if you don't give a fuck, you ain't going nowhere. You have to fucking want it, especially when we've seen as much of a performance as we have out of him and we know exactly what he is capable of. To see him, he and Haw, through this bullshit now, going through the motions, that ain't gonna fucking cut it. And I don't like saying this, but he's fucking making me. With that attitude, Ian Heimish puts him to fucking sleep Saturday night.
I mean, this fight plays a lot towards Ian Heinish's strengths. Kevin Gastelum he really likes to apply pressure, move forward, and Heinisch likes to sit back a little bit at range and then counter strike, and that's where a lot of his knockouts come from. And I think that's probably what we're going to wind up seeing. I think this one is playing directly into Ian Heinish's strengths. I think this is I hate to say a setup, but it does feel kind of like a setup to move Ian Heinisch up a little bit. Just like you said, I don't know, like, if Gastelum can come in focused and ready for this fight, which I don't know that he can with the way that he's been going. Like, he'll win this fight. This is his fight to lose. But Ian Heinisch, like, this is really playing to Ian Heinish's strengths. And we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see which Kevin Gastelum shows up. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I hope we see a focused. I hope we see him focused. I hope we see him ready for what Ian Heinisch is going to bring. But like I said, this just kind of feels like a setup to me. So I'm putting my money on Ian Heinisch.
I understand.
Yeah, this fight specifically was what I looked at and hemmed and hawed over, because I didn't really want to talk about it. Because to be honest, I don't like Ian Heinisch at all. I've never been a huge fan of Kelvin's. I respect what he had done. And I say had because, well, past tense now, over the last year and a half since he fought Israel Adesanya. It's unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, not just for Kelvin, but for the fan base, that he's gone on such a downhill slide, because the war that he put on with Israel Adesanya was fucking amazing. Like, he literally hit that dude with fucking phone booths. He put Izzy on his fucking heels. Nobody else has done that. And then all of a sudden, it just came to a crashing halt. He got decisioned by Darren Till, and then subbed in his last outing in the first round, which I did never see happening, because Kelvin's got a pretty good fucking wrestling base, and you don't expect that shit to happen. What I'm hoping here, because I just don't like Ian Heinisch, is that Kelvin, albeit not looking like he's completely in it and having his girlfriend running everything, which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever, you do you. I mean, if you want to be a nicer, more cleaned up version of aluminum, feel free and do that. But I'm hoping what happens is he earns the victory on this one, and I say earns it. I hope Ian takes him all 3 rounds, and he earns a victory on a fucking decision to show that, yes, I can still do it, and that lights that fire back under his ass. Because I think that's what he needs. I don't think he needs a fucking knockout or something like that where, oh, I got lucky. No, he needs to earn a victory. And to be honest, I think that would be great for him. And I think you guys are very well within your realm of saying this very well could be a setup for Ian Heinisch, because he's lucked his way into the number 15 spot on the rankings list. And I say lucked because if you look at his fucking fight resume, it's absolute fucking trash here. But because of where the middleweight division is at, he's lucked his way into it. Because unfortunately, the middleweight division, anything below the top 10 is fucking, it's a toss-up. It's literally a toss-up factory. And to be honest, I think this may also be a Hey, Kelvin, pull your head out of your ass or we're going to have to start thinking about cutting you. And to be honest, I don't want to see them cut him because I still think he's got a lot left to give. However, this could be that deciding factor in this fight right here. I really do think so, which is a terrible fucking thing considering what he's done in the UFC already. And to be honest, if he loses this fight, if they cut him, I wouldn't expect Bellator or anybody else to pick him up. And to be honest, it would be a good time for you to say, you know what, fuck it, my head's not in it all the way. It's time to pull out. Because if your head's not in the game here, this is not a game that you can not be fully focused on and fully in. If you're not, you're going to end up with problems. Maybe not right now, but down the road. You're going to take way too much damage over the course of your career, those types of issues. But I think he's got enough in the tank to pull this one out. I think he'll get it done, but I think he's going to have to earn it. And it's not that I think Ian Heinz is that good. I just think Kelvin's been lacking, and he needs to understand that, hey, this is going to suck. I have to get past that suck portion and embrace it and remember the grind and why I was here, why I got to the top of the mountain, and then climb your fucking way back up. I mean, you took 3 losses. Okay, big deal. You're at the peak. Of course, I didn't expect you to lose to Till after the fight you had with Adesanya, but Till showed up that night, and he fucking did fantastic. And Till always manages to show up, even if he gets knocked out, he still shows up well. But I mean, I'm just saying, I think Kelvin's got it in him. I just don't know if we're going to see it or not. I'm hoping we do, and I'm hoping he has to work for it. God damn it.
I agree. I think a 3-round battle with him coming out with a W, I think might be the thing to light a fire under his ass. I agree with that. I honestly don't know if at this point he's got enough left in him to drag through a fucking 3-round battle like that anymore. Not with the fucking camp that he apparently put himself through. We'll see. We'll definitely fucking see, though. But on that unenthusiastic note, that will bring us to the cold, lumpy mashed potato splop that is the co-main event of this dog shit pile of a fucking pay-per-view card. One of the least logical placements of any fight on this card actually kind of makes the Maki Pitolo Marquez fight look kind of spectacular. Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. So I can see where this fight could need to happen for the division's sake. How, coming off of a loss and an injury, Macy Barber talked her way into a co-main event on a pay-per-view, I will never fucking understand. This is a premier prelim fight for a fight night if ever I have fucking seen one. This is not co-main event. This is not main card caliber, and this sure the fuck is not pay-per-view worthy fights. Like I said, for the division's sake, I understand the matchup itself. The placement on this fucking card with Barber coming off of a loss in surgery, I don't fucking get. The other thing about this fight, Barber is coming off of serious knee damage against a girl in Grasso who can and will stand and strike with you, but is equally as likely to push you against the fence and then slam you to the fucking ground or catch you with an outside trip and throw you onto your fucking back. That's going to prove to be a real big fucking problem for Macy if that knee is not 100 fucking percent back to good. If there's any shake in that knee, Alexa Grasso is going to find it and she's going to hurt you for it. She's got that kind of constant forward pressure, albeit a little rough around the edges. She is a fucking bulldozer. That girl, when she starts pushing, is going to move the fucking earth. And if Barber's knee is not 100% ready, that's going to be the beginning of a very bad night for Macy. The other interesting point about that, though, is that we have also seen Alexa get frustrated when her game plan doesn't work. And she has a hard time adapting in the moment. She's great at sticking to the plan, but when the plan goes tits up, we've seen her struggle a little bit when she has to reformulate. Macy Barber is that kind of frustrating bitch that if she can figure out what you're doing and she can figure out how to negate it, she's going to do that immediately. And then she's going to shut that down every fucking time. I'm not 100% convinced, though, that she's A, back to fully healed, or B, game planned and ready enough for the pressure and the different style of fighting that Grasso is going to bring. I don't think Macy Barber has ever faced anyone quite like Alexa Grasso before, and I think it's going to be too much for her. I think Macy Barber is so in her own fucking head, convinced that she's going to be the UFC's youngest ever champion and take that title away from John Jones, that she's looking at the forest for the tree, or she's missing the forest for the trees, rather. She can't see what's in front of her because she's too busy trying to see the big picture. And look what that got her against Roxanne Modafferi. I like Roxanne Modafferi. I got nothing against her, but she's not top 5. I don't know that she ever will be. She's a great fighter. She's a great gatekeeper, but I don't know that she's ever going to see that belt or be in that conversation for the title. And Roxanne beat the fucking brakes off of Macy Barber long before that knee ever happened, and also never opportunized that hurt leg in their fight either. She gave Macy Barber an old-fashioned ass whooping and negated that fucking knee and left it the fuck alone when she could have used it, and she didn't. If a mediocre fighter like Roxanne can come in and beat the brakes off of this stupid little fucker, I think Alexa Grasso is going to have a fucking field day with her. I think Alexa takes this one in the third. I think there's going to be a long feel out process in the first, kind of going to be a little boring. I think it's going to start to pick up in the second, but I think round 3 is where we're going to see Alexa shine, and I think she's going to get a TKO. I don't think there's a knockout in the future, but I think there's a nice TKO in her future for this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that, pardon me. See if I can get that out of my throat. There we go. Yeah, I think Macy Barber probably learned her lesson from Roxanne Modafferi. I think if she's been working on anything, she's been working on takedown defense, because she legitimately got her ass whooped by Roxanne Modafferi. And that's one of the fights where I really like to point at that one when you talk to the type of fighter that Roxanne Modafferi is. When they call her the Happy Warrior, she could have subbed Macy Barber out at any point that she wanted to, but she realized that the knee was hurt and stayed away from it. And it's pretty remarkable when someone's like, all right, I see you're hurt. I'm not going to take advantage of that. I'm just gonna kind of sit on top of you, and I'll work a game, but I'm not going to hurt you any further than you are right now. So that was pretty remarkable. Roxanne won the fight. Would she have won that fight if Macy Barber hadn't torn her ACL like 10 seconds into the second round? Who knows? Who knows, really? She had a pretty good game plan for Macy Barber, which was take her down, and she couldn't do anything. Alexa Grasso is certainly capable of doing something like that, but if Macy Barber has worked on her takedown defense at all, which I believe, I really believe she probably has in her off time, I think Macy Barber's too much of a powerhouse for Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso is the very definition of hot and cold. She wins one, she loses one. She wins one, she loses one. She's due for a loss because she just won her last fight. And if Macy Barber can stop the takedowns, there's not a fucking thing that Alexa Grasso can do to her. She's too strong. I honestly believe she's probably quicker than Alexa Grasso is. She's certainly more of a powerhouse than Alexa Grasso is. So I could see this one getting pushed up against the cage, but I could see Macy Barber doing the pushing and then eventually working her down and doing her ground and pound, trying to get her to bleed thing. Macy Barber's she's a little bit of a self-involved bitch. But to be fair, there's a little bit of reason that she is. Prior to the loss to Modafferi, she had been just bulldozing people, and I think she'll probably get back to her bulldozing ways on this one, because I think she realized that the weakness in her game was her takedown defense and jiu-jitsu defense. So she's certainly a smart enough fighter to realize that she needed to work on that. And with a torn ACL, that's plenty of time to work on that. She already had the hands, so we'll see where this one takes us. But I think Macy Barber's probably taking this one. I think she'll probably take Alexa Grasso out.
That's the first thing I'm going to say. I don't like either one of these ladies. I'm more pissed that this is taking up a co-main event slot. To be honest, I would rather see the Kelvin Gastelum and Heinisch fight in this slot. This is, at best, a prelim main spot. You know, okay, I'll even give them one up. They could have opened the card, and I would have been okay with that. Sure, whatever, fine. Co-main event, whoever did this, I don't know who was sucking dick here or if they did it in tandem so they could get this co-main event slot. Apparently, they're very good at it. Good for you, ladies. Nothing against you at all personally, but I don't think this is a co-main event worthy, not let alone to know that people are going to pay upwards of $80 for this as a co-main event. Fucking, to be honest, this card as a whole should be fucking quarter priced. Not half price, but quarter of that. $20. Because the only thing people are caring about to watch on this fight, on this card here, in general, is just going to be the main event. And to be honest, nobody likes Marty from Nebraska anyways, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm getting myself a little off topic because this still pisses me off. This is called main event. One, I don't think Alexa Grasso is fucking good at all. I think she's literally a shitbag who has lucked her way into a win-lose situation. Macy Barber, I just don't like because she's a lippy fucking bitch. And to be quite honest, if she would have came in here to the UFC with a little more tact and respectfulness, I would have had a lot more appreciation for what she does. And give credit where credit's due. She has come in like a fucking fireball, knocking bitches out one after another. She doesn't go to decisions. She puts bitches out. And good on her. That featherweight or flyweight division, they needed that. They needed somebody who would come in there and level heads. However, you're not Conor McGregor. I will say this over and over and over again. Everybody thought that come in, act like Conor McGregor, get lippy and fucking rowdy, and that's going to get you all the way to the top. No, it doesn't. It's what Conor McGregor did on his way there that got him to the top. Not just the lippy attitude. The lippy attitude helped a little bit because he was Mystic Macking himself there. But I'm just saying, All these fighters need to stop that. I think the thing that I had the biggest problem with Macy Barber on, of all of the fucking things, not so much slip. Okay, there's plenty of cocky fighters out there. Writing on her tape her new record that she was going to have after the fight. I'm gonna be 8-0. I'm gonna be 9. No, that ship fucking sailed. So stop writing that shit down. Let's get a little more tactful now when we're in here. Knock Alexa Grasso out. Show her that she is the piece of shit she is. Move on with your life. If you get a little more tactful, you might gain a fan. Because I do like what you've done. You're fighting out of Milwaukee. And I have to support my home, Wisconsin here. But I do it very reluctantly with her. I don't support her. Like, I'm not going to go to her fan page. I'm not going to follow her Instagram or her TikTok or her whatever fucking stupid platform people are on nowadays for social media, because nobody gives a fuck about social media except people on social media. Get your shit together. Tactfully, gracefully beat bitches' asses. When you're done beating them, help them up. Do that kind of shit. You get a lot more respect from me out of that than the, I already beat you, I'm looking ahead to the future. No, worry about what's in front of you. Keep the blinders on until you get to that big world, and then you can let them go. You're not there yet, sweetheart. Unfortunately, that knee injury, I don't know how you're going to come back from that. I know it's been a year, which is good, because you took the full time necessary for an ACL to be repaired properly and rehabbed properly. Now, I'm hoping you did rehab properly, because, to be honest, I want to see you knock more women out. That's my favorite part of your entire game. You literally knock women out in the flyweight division. That doesn't happen normally in the UFC women's flyweight division. It's usually a decision machine in this division. There is no world, there's not Earth 0, Earth 45, not any alternate reality that I can see here where Alexa Grasso fucking KOs Macy Barber. However, there are quite a few of those realities where I can see Macy Barber doing it. So, not to praise her, because I don't want to praise Macy Barber, not until she gets her shit together. But this should be an easy win and a nice fucking... well, I'm not going to say an easy win, because, well, Alexa Grasso will put up a bit of a fight, because she is kind of... she is feisty. I'll give her that. But she's going to end up sleeping on the canvas eventually. That's all there is to it. To be honest, I don't think she gets out of the second round as long as Macy's knee is in 100% shape. If it's in 100% shape, Alexa Grasso doesn't make it out of the second round. She's going to be cut up, beat up, mounted, fucking grounded and pounded the piss out of. She's not going to look like the Alexa Grasso walking in that she will walking out, if she walks out.
Definitely one of the most disappointing co-main events we have seen in a long time, if nothing else. But that will bring us to the half-heartedly microwaved, meat-styled product that is our main event. The namesake, unfortunately, for this pay-per-view event. Kamaru Marty the Toe Stomper Usman versus Gilbert Burns. The good thing that I will say about this fight is that this is a title matchup where we are looking again at former teammates. Not just former teammates, but former teammates that liked each other so much they used to, on a regular basis, choose each other as a rolling and sparring partner over everyone else in the gym routinely because they worked so well off of each other, because they played so well against each other. That was the past. Kamaru Usman has left. He has moved to a different gym, to a different camp. He's kind of become a bit of a nomad lately. But no one else in that gym went anywhere. So now Kamaru Usman is in a whole new camp with a whole new crew. But everyone training with Gilbert Burns, not just other sparring partners, but coaches as well, have years of intricate, detailed, firsthand knowledge of all of Kamaru's idiosyncrasies, all of his mannerisms, all of his tells, all of his go-tos, all of his tendencies. He may have a little bit of that knowledge from Gilbert, but they literally have an entire gym of firsthand Usman knowledge. Assuming Gilbert can keep his toes free of that guillotine stomper that is Marty's feet, there's not really a whole lot that Kamaru can do that Burns hasn't seen. The real bitch of it here for Usman is that while I understand wanting to go keep improving, go to a different gym, get yourself a little better acclimated, get yourself a new set of eyes, fresh input, try and keep evolving, that is always a good idea. The bad part about that is in doing so, he has almost left a Hansel and Gretel style breadcrumb trail of all of his styles and his habits and his whole everything. And in doing that, Gilbert, as well as the rest of us, all now know that Kamaru Usman's knees might as well be made of jello. When he's not in camp, he has trouble walking and tying his shoes some days. His knees are that fucked from this many years of hardcore wrestling and fighting now. Understandably so, but when you talk about a fucking powerhouse like Gilbert Burns, an ADCC fucking champion, an IBJFF champion, a fucking world-renowned Brazilian national jiu-jitsu team world champion like Gilbert Burns, who also has some of the most lethal fucking hands in the business right now, and a chin made of granite that no one has yet to be able to put a serious test on, that's a bad recipe for somebody who says that they're a problem. That's a bad recipe for a guy who's known for giving 70%. When you talk about a real world-class champion athlete like Gilbert Burns, I think it's going to be a real bad night for Marty from Nebraska. I don't think he's going to be easy money by any stretch of the imagination. He's not going to lay down. That's for goddamn sure. I'll give him that. He's going to give everything he's got in the process. But I don't think everything he's got is enough to stop Gilbert. I think we see Anu. I think we see a stoppage in the fourth. I don't think it goes all the way, but I think we go into championship rounds. But I think Gilbert stops him in the fourth. I think we get Anu this weekend.
Anu. That's about all I've got to say about this. I mean, we've covered Gilbert Burns for how many fights on this channel? Gilbert Burns he's a world breaker right now. He's got it all. He's got jiu-jitsu, he's got strike. His strikes are some of the most underrated in the UFC. His striking game is some of the most underrated in the UFC right now. I don't see this making it to championship rounds. I don't think it goes that far. I think Gilbert knows too much. And Gilbert knows too much, and I think he's still evolving as a fighter. Whereas I think Marty is well, Kamaru Usman has peaked as a fighter, and I think we've seen what we're going to see out of him. Unless Gilbert gets pushed against the fence and foot stomped to death for 25 minutes like Jorge Masvidal, this is Gilbert Burns' fight. So and new. I think Gilbert Burns takes. I think he stops him in the second or third. Quite frankly.
To be honest, this is Burns all day, in my opinion. Look, not that I just dislike Usman. I'll give credit where credit is due. He does have fantastic fucking wrestling. Like, to be honest, it's up there with the best in all of the UFC. It's probably not quite as good as Khabib's was, but I don't think there's anybody that'll ever get to that level. At least not anytime soon that we're going to see. That shit'll probably happen after I'm dead before I see something like that again.
A couple generations down the line from now.
Yeah. No. Gilbert Burns, though. His jiu-jitsu is on point. He wrestled with Kamaru for how long while they were training together? So he knows all the tricks that he's going to use. Look, you've been wrestling for that long. You can add a new trick here or there, but it's not going to be anything major that a guy the caliber of Gilbert Burns is not going to be able to figure out. This fight has been a long time coming. So these guys have been getting ready for each other for a long time. However, I think from what we've seen out of Gilbert Burns, he's literally the epitome of what the welterweight division is going to be. You're not going to... I don't care who they put in there against Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns wins. Right now. There's not a better fighter, in my opinion, in the welterweight division right now. Sorry, guys. If you're in the welterweight division, you think otherwise, fucking prove it. Nobody's done it so far. But I think Burns takes this. He gets to take it home to his 4 or 5 kids or however many fucking kids he has now. Run a little mini sweatshop, teaching them wrestling and everything else.
Yeah.
Look, I think he gets this done. I'm in line with Fresher. I don't think we see championship rounds here. I think he gets him done inside of 3. 3 or less, that's my go-to. And not to mention, I'll be so happy to see that so we can stop seeing Dana riding Kamaru's dick. And they can finally take him off of the headlines page and remove him from existence. Because, you know what? Fucking overseeing Kamaru 30% Usman. Dude, fuck yourself. Look, had Masvidal not taken that fight on 6 days and some change notice, he would have beat the brakes off of him. But, yeah, I'm just saying. And if that tells you anything, that tells you he's really not that good. And then he's had time to train for Burns, and he's about to get fucking just shit canned by Burns. Mark my words. Inside of 3.
I think it's definitely going to be a big exposing moment for Usman. I agree completely with TJ. If we'd have had a full camp Masvidal, the fact that 6 days notice fuzzy robe wearing Masvidal managed to go 25 minutes with Usman and no one else has been able to do that yet says a lot. And I think that Gilbert Burns is leaps and bounds better than Masvidal, but I still think full camp Masvidal beats Usman handily. And I think legitimately Burns is leaps and bounds above where Masvidal is just overall. So I absolutely think we're going to see an Anu this weekend. But the fun thing about MMA is that there's no way to be sure unless you actually tune in Saturday to find out, or keep your eyes peeled Sunday for a possible recap show. That being said, though, that is all we have got for this particular episode. So before we get the fuck out of here, I want to take just a moment here and let these folks know, if at this point in the game you have not signed up for the Hug-a-Chalathon, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if at this point you still need to find out how to get registered, how could somebody get a hold of you after the show's over, Fresh?
Well, we're going up to 25% here. We've moved back into phase 2. We were back at phase 1 for a while. We're back to phase 2. So we're getting closer. We're getting closer to having public SUG. And if at that point happens, then Uncle Joe will get a hug. I will suit up, gloves, goggles, face mask, full body suit, just to go and give the man the praise he deserves. I nominated him for Man of the Year last year. No one was listening to me because he got us through the toughest part last year. I think he deserves a ton of credit for still putting things on last year. Refusing to say no, fighting in a grain silo. Uncle Jail deserves all the hugs that we can give him. So you can sign up at youtube.com/fresh03. We'll do some mixing of e-liquids until we get to that point. But when that point happens, we will film it publicly and get a hug. And in the near future, you'll be able to get a tour of my new home, my new house. So signing my life away day by day.
Well, we appreciate the time either way. Thank you very much for being here,
Thank
sir.
you.
And I can barely fathom even saying the words, but at this point in time, if someone still hasn't figured out where the best place to get themselves some fried cheese curds and maybe some directions to get themselves a Kenosha Crippler meeting, how can they get a hold of you after the show, TJ?
Well, at this point, I've got enough maps drawn out that I'm just going to start sending them to people as they ask. But if you want a live version, you can always stop here on Wednesday nights or on my channel, Golf T Vapes, 9:30 Central Time. Glad to discuss it with you. You can hit me up on one social media that I do use, and only to check messages, not to post shit. That's Instagram. I don't post shit because I'm not a fucking show pony. So I do not do social media, which is probably where my son gets it from. Good on him. No fucking show ponying here. But yeah, by all means, get a hold of us Wednesday nights. We're here. And I'm here every Thursday night too. So if you want directions on a Thursday, I'll give them to you on Thursday because I'm a nice guy like that.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated. And with that being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So if you made it this far into the episode and you're still here with us, give us a thumbs up, hit that little notification bell down at the bottom so you don't miss an episode. And if you appreciate what we do around here, share an episode of the show, any episode, share it with a friend, help us grow this goddamn thing. On the other side of that coin, if we're just a couple of dipshits who can grow glorious beards, sitting around talking out our ass in front of some webcams, give us a thumbs down because we earned it and we won't dispute it. But at that point, we are going to go ahead and call it all for now. So remember, until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless you don't value convenience. We love you, RJ.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye?